There's a moment in certain games where you stop playing and just stare. The lighting hits different. The detail in the environment is so sharp it barely looks real. Water, shadows, textures, everything rendered with a level of fidelity that makes you question whether you're looking at a game or a photograph. That moment is happening more and more in 2026, and Unreal Engine 5 is the reason why. The most powerful game engine ever built has quietly transformed what games look like, feel like, and play like, and the titles running on it right now are genuinely pushing the boundaries of what we thought was possible on modern hardware. This isn't just about pretty graphics. Unreal Engine 5 is enabling worlds more detailed, more dynamic, and more alive than anything gaming has seen before. Today, we've rounded up the best Unreal Engine 5 games you absolutely need to experience in 2026. Your eyes are in for something special. Let's get into it. Nobody expected a scrappy Japanese indie studio to break Steam's concurrent player records, but Palworld did exactly that. Pocket Pair's pitch sounds absurd on paper. Creatures that look suspiciously like Pokemon, except you can arm them with guns, put them to work in factories, and yes, even eat them. Underneath the meme energy is a genuinely deep survival crafting game built on Unreal Engine 5, with sprawling open zones, base building, and boss fights against towering PAL titans. The lighting and scale UE5 provides make the world feel bigger than it has any right on an indie budget. Pocket Pair kept the updates coming, adding new islands, raids, and mechanics well past launch. Love it or hate the concept, Palworld proved a small team with the right engine can go toe-to-toe with billion-dollar franchises. Studio Wildcard basically rebuilt their entire survival empire from the ground up, and Ark Survival Ascended is the result. The original Ark rebuilt completely in Unreal Engine 5. Same dinosaurs, same crafting and taming loop that hooked millions of players, but now with nanite detail on every scale and feather, and Lumen lighting that makes sunsets over the island actually breathtaking. Tame a Rex, build a base, get wiped by a tribe of griefers, rebuild angrier than before. That loop hasn't changed, but everything around it looks like a completely different generation of game. New maps keep landing, servers stay packed, and the modding scene has exploded now that creators have UE5 tools to play with. If you tried Ark years ago and bounced off the visuals, this remaster is the reason to give it another shot. Fighting games rarely get to show off next-gen graphics, but Tekken 8 makes every punch look like it should hurt in real life. Bandai Namco rebuilt the Mishima Saga on Unreal Engine 5, and the difference shows in sweat flying off characters, fabric ripping mid-combo, and stages that actually react to the fight. Walls crack, floors break, arenas evolve as the match goes on. The new heat system pushes aggressive offense instead of turtling, which makes matches faster and way more brutal to watch. Arcade Quest gives newcomers an actual reason to learn the cast instead of getting bodied online immediately. With a roster spanning 3 generations of the Mishima family and a community that hasn't slowed down since launch, Tekken 8 is proof that fighting games can look as good as any open-world blockbuster while still running rock solid at 60 frames. Here's a Souls-like with a twist nobody else really pulled off. 2 worlds stacked on top of each other, and you can shift between them at will. Hexworks built Lords of the Fallen around Axiom, the world of the living, and Umbral, a rotting mirror dimension crawling with nightmares. Step through, and the same location becomes a completely different, more dangerous place, hiding secret paths and brutal enemies. Unreal Engine 5 makes that transition seamless. No loading screens, just reality peeling back in real time. It launched rough, but the studio kept patching and expanding it until it became one of the most respected dark fantasy Souls-likes out there. If you've burned through From Software's catalog and need something with a genuinely different core mechanic, this one deserves a real shot in 2026. Imagine Dark Souls, but every time you die and come back, the world has quietly rearranged itself. Remnant 2 from Gunfire Games throws you and up to 2 friends into procedurally generated realms, so no 2 runs ever look the same. One playthrough, you're fighting root-corrupted monstrosities in a decaying kingdom. The next, you're somewhere entirely different, with new bosses, new secrets, new weapons to find. It blends third-person gunplay with Souls-like combat rhythm. Dodge, punish, reload, repeat. And Unreal Engine 5 renders these sprawling, decayed worlds with a level of atmosphere that makes exploring feel worth it, not just grinding. With its expansions adding entirely new archetypes and endings, this is one of the most replayable co-op games built on UE5. And it rewards players who actually explore, instead of rushing to the next checkpoint. Nothing in gaming feels as satisfying as watching an entire skyscraper collapse mid-firefight, and that's the whole pitch behind the finals. Embark Studios, stacked with ex-Battlefield developers, built a free-to-play shooter where the map is a weapon. Walls crumble, floors give out, buildings topple onto the enemy team trying to plant a bomb inside. Unreal Engine 5's physics and destruction tech make every match play out differently because the arena you started in might not exist by round 3. Add contestants choosing between light, medium, and heavy builds, cash-out objectives, and a slick game show presentation, and you get something that feels genuinely fresh in a genre full of clothes. It's still pulling in huge player counts on PC, PlayStation, and Xbox in 2026, seasons deep with new game shows, weapons, and ways to bring the house down. Literally. Yes, Fortnite! The game everyone thinks they already know just got a total engine transplant. Epic quietly rebuilt Fortnite's core on Unreal Engine 5, and the difference is night and day. Nanite renders insane environmental detail without a frame drop, and Lumen throws real-time lighting across the entire island. Storms look like actual weather systems now. Explosions leave lighting that lingers. And because it's Epic's own engine, Fortnite becomes the testbed for every new UE5 feature before anyone else gets it. This is also the game powering an entire universe of crossovers, from Marvel to anime to musicians dropping concerts inside the map. If you dismissed Fortnite as a kid's battle royale, load in again. Technically, it's one of the most advanced UE5 games running today, and it's free. Konami let this one die for over a decade. Then Bloober Team brought it back and somehow made it scarier. Silent Hill 2 puts you in the shoes of James Sunderland, walking into a fog-choked town after getting a letter from his dead wife. The remake ditches the old fixed camera for an over-the-shoulder view, and every hallway feels tighter. Every static burst on the radio hits harder. Unreal Engine 5 is doing quiet, terrifying work here. Volumetric fog that swallows entire streets. Lighting that makes Pyramid Head silhouette something you feel before you see. This isn't jump scare horror. It's dread that builds for hours. Critics called it one of the best horror remakes ever made, and it proved Unreal Engine 5 isn't just for open-world spectacle. It can build a nightmare you can't look away from. Picture fighting a boss the size of a mountain and losing 40 times before you land the killing blow. That's Black Myth Wukong. Game Science built this out of nowhere and turned it into the first true AAA game to come out of China, ripping straight from Journey to the West. You play the Destined One, a monkey warrior who can shapeshift into insects, clones himself mid-fight, and freezes time to sneak in extra hits. Every temple, every cave, every boss arena looks handcrafted, not generated. Unreal Engine 5's Nanite and Lumen let Game Science pack in insane detail without tanking performance. It sold tens of millions of copies and single-handedly proved Chinese studios could go toe-to-toe with From Software. If you want a punishing, gorgeous action RPG rooted in real mythology, this is still the one to beat in 2026. Nobody expected the best use of Unreal Engine 5 that year to come from a licensed RoboCop game, but here we are. Polish studio Teon got Peter Weller back to reprise his role and built a slow, tank-like first-person shooter around old Detroit that actually understands what made the original movies great. Dark satire, corporate villains, and RoboCop feeling like an unstoppable wall of justice. Digital Foundry called it out specifically for how well it deployed Lumen lighting and nanite geometry on a budget nowhere near what bigger studios spend. You patrol the city, solve crimes, hand out citations, and occasionally punch a criminal through a wall. A full expansion, Unfinished Business, kept the momentum going. If you want proof that Unreal Engine 5 isn't just for billion-dollar blockbusters, this scrappy license shooter is Exhibit A.
Few games have a development story like this one. GSC Game World kept building Stalker 2 through war breaking out in their own country, and somehow still shipped one of the most atmospheric open-world shooters in years. You're a stalker wandering the zone around Chernobyl, scavenging gear, dodging anomalies, and trying not to get torn apart by mutated wildlife or rival factions. Unreal Engine 5 renders this irradiated wasteland with a kind of grim, foggy beauty. Abandoned villages swallowed by nature, storms rolling in that genuinely feel dangerous. An A-life system where NPCs live their own lives whether you're watching or not. It's unforgiving, janky in places, and absolutely unforgettable. If you want an open world built on tension instead of checklists, the Zone is still one of the best in 2026.
Magic-slinging first-person shooters barely exist, and Immortals of Avium tried to build the genre from scratch. Ascendant Studios put you in the boots of Jack, a battle mage flinging elemental spells instead of bullets across a war-torn fantasy world called Avium. Blue bolts for rapid fire, red for heavy damage, green for crowd control. It plays like a shooter, but reads like a spellbook. Unreal Engine 5 was pushed hard here, with Epic themselves calling it one of the most advanced UE5 titles at launch. Massive draw distances, cinematic lighting, and battles with dozens of magical effects on screen at once without choking your frame rate. It didn't land the audience it deserved at first, but it's found a cult following since, and it remains one of the best visual showcases of what this engine can pull off in a fast-paced action game.
Obsidian spent years known for isometric RPGs, then dropped players straight into first-person combat in the Living Lands, a wild, magic-soaked archipelago from the Pillars of Eternity universe. Avowed lets you dual-wield swords, sling fireballs from your offhand, or go full spell sword chaos, mix and match however you want. No rigid class locking you in. Unreal Engine 5 renders the Living Lands in vivid, almost storybook color. Dense jungles, crumbling ruins, and skies that shift as you explore. What makes it stick, though, is Obsidian's writing, companions with actual opinions, choices that ripple through the story, factions that remember what you did to them. It's shorter and tighter than something like Skyrim, but every hour is dense with content instead of padding. A genuinely great entry point if you've never played an Obsidian RPG before.
China's Souls-like scene isn't slowing down, and Wu Chang Fallen Feathers is proof. Developer Lindsay dropped you into the late Ming Dynasty as Bai Wu Chang, a pirate warrior losing her memory while a supernatural plague called the Feathering twists the world around her. 5 weapon types, a madness system that makes you stronger the more you risk, and boss fights built to test every ounce of patience you have. Lindsay made the jump from Unreal Engine 4 to UE5 specifically for this game, and it shows. Decaying temples, overgrown forests, and monstrous bosses, all rendered with real weight and detail. It launched as a Day 1 Game Pass title and quickly became one of the most talked about Souls-likes of the year. If Black Myth Wukong scratched an itch, this one digs even deeper into Chinese folk horror.
This is less a game you play and more an experience you sit inside. Ninja Theory built Hellblade 2 entirely around Senua psychosis, and Unreal Engine 5 makes for Viking-era Iceland look almost photorealistic. Motion-captured faces so detailed you forget you're looking at pixels. Binaural audio that whispers directly into your skull. Environments so bleak and beautiful you'll stop just to look around. There's combat, but it's not the point. The point is walking through grief, trauma, and hallucination alongside a character who feels disturbingly real. It's short compared to most games on this list, but nothing else on any platform matches its visual and audio craftsmanship. If you want to see exactly what Unreal Engine 5 can do when a studio prioritizes atmosphere over everything else, this is the benchmark.